Hello viewers and welcome to Novus Talks with me, your host Novus Gorvius. And the Nintendo Direct has finally been announced, the first one of 2022. It is happening tomorrow, or I guess today as of the time of uploading this, at 10 p.m. Irish time. So weirdly enough, this is on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. Normally these things are on a Thursday, but hey, I'm not complaining. We're getting these a lot sooner than I would have expected. So this is 40 minutes long, just like the last few, which is interesting because Nintendo Directs in the past used to be 15 minutes long. And then as of last February, they started becoming 40 minutes long. I'm not complaining, but it is just an observation. So yeah, what could we expect? Because 2022 is packed. There is so much incredible first-party content coming from Nintendo this year. And what could we expect in a 40-minute Direct? What games could get talked about? It is worth noting right off the bat that the tweet by Nintendo does specifically say mostly games in the first half of this year. Interestingly enough, they don't focus in on one game like they usually do in these announcements. They don't say, we're going to show footage of Splatoon or whatever. So that is worth noting. I don't really think it means anything, though. I think they know there's so much huge content this year that needs to be focused on. But yeah, what could we see? What's possible and what's completely impossible here? Right off the bat, I do want to say it's mostly 2022 games. That doesn't mean we can't see something else. The February Nintendo Direct ended with Splatoon 3, a 2022 game. So you can bet the very last game in this Nintendo Direct, presumably the last one anyway, whatever the really big surprise announcement is probably going to be a 2023 game. But aside from that, what could we expect? What is on the table here? Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Advance Wars. Those are absolutely guaranteed. Kirby comes out in March and Advance Wars is rumored to come out in April. So they absolutely need to talk about that. And given the fact that they teased an announcement for a Kirby 30th anniversary celebration, I get the impression they're probably going to talk about that in this Direct and maybe announce a separate Kirby-focused Direct for a later date. That's how I think that's going to go. I do think they'll show some footage for Kirby in the Forgotten Land and maybe announce a Game & Watch or wait until the Kirby Direct. I don't know. But that's my thinking in regards to Kirby. Might get a 2-minute trailer just going over, reiterating some of the stuff we've already seen, but introducing new footage and concepts that we haven't seen already. I think that will be the last really big marketing push for the game. As for Advance Wars, it's going to be really interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't seen the game since E3. It was supposed to come out in December, but the game was delayed because Nintendo felt it wasn't ready and they needed to fix, I think it was the graphics or there were some technical problems. I can't remember specifically, but Nintendo wanted to improve that game, which, fair play to them for being transparent. I do like that they're being more honest with us in this generation. So either way, I'm sure that delay is going to be worth it. And it'll be interesting to see if Advance Wars has changed visually in any way. Will it still look similar to what we saw at E3 or will it be completely different? It'll be interesting seeing if there's any other new features they've added in or how that goes, Either way, Advance Wars is definitely a game that needs a lot of marketing. Most people right now have probably forgotten about it, so I think Nintendo really needs to hammer home the fact that this is a game that's coming out. It's an old IP that hasn't received a game in 15 years. Here it is, here's these remakes of the original 2 games, and here's why you should be excited. And if they do that, hopefully it'll be a 1 or 2 million seller, like everything else on Switch. And as I already mentioned, Splatoon 3. What are the odds of that showing up? Pretty likely. Again, I think Splatoon 3 is guaranteed. It's probably a summer release, if I had to guess. Maybe they'll announce a demo, or I'm not really sure how they handled the announcements of the last 2 games, but they're probably going to do something similar. And I suspect it'll be a June, July release, so it would fall within that first half of the year window, and I think they'll go full in depth with that, and maybe shed some light on the campaign, show us some of the new features there. But I think obviously for the most part it's a Splatoon game, so it's going to be all about the multiplayer, the new features, new combat, all that good stuff, and that'd be really interesting to see. Personally, I won't pick it up because I don't have access to Nintendo Online, but it does look really good from what we've seen so far, and I have no doubt it probably will be the best Splatoon game to date. So with those games out the window, we get into less uncertain territory. What are the other games for 2022 that they could show? Bayonetta 3? Just like always, it's impossible to say. I'm leaning toward no. Just because my experience, I've been burnt out from all the previous directs and E3s and Game Awards shows from not seeing Bayonetta 3 that I've come not to expect it. We just got a trailer in the last direct, which was 5 months ago. And in Nintendo's eyes, that's probably very recent. That was only the last Nintendo Direct. So in Nintendo's eyes, why show it again so soon? Especially if it's a September, October release like a lot of us expect. Nintendo could possibly wait until E3 to show that off. It's possible they mention it and say something like, development is going well, we'll show you more at a later date, something like that, but I wouldn't expect it. I would love to see it. If we saw new footage, it would restore my faith in the game because, as you might remember, I was a bit disappointed with that trailer. The game looked weird in the sense that visually it looked gorgeous, but the enemies were generic and the blood was green. There was none of the usual sexual suggestions and stuff that Bayonetta is known for. The combat looked kind of clunkier compared to like the fast-paced gameplay from number 2. Controlling the demons doesn't look fun. So, and the fact that they replaced Bayonetta's voice actress, and recently we heard that the voice actor for Rodin has also been replaced. They have yet to do something to have my faith be 100% in this game. I'm obviously still going to pick it up and I'm still going to enjoy it. Currently I'm replaying Bayonetta 1. I just rewatched the Bayonetta movie. But what I've seen so far doesn't impress me too much. But fortunately, Hideki Kamiya has said a few times in interviews since, the game will still be mature. There'll still be lots of nudity and gore, and Nintendo hasn't interfered with the creative expression. So Bayonetta 3 should still line up with what we've come to expect from Bayonetta. So maybe it's just that level they showed us in the trailer that's that way. Maybe everything else in the game is as you'd expect it to be. I don't know. We don't know anything about the game, so who's to say really, but that is one thing I would love to see in this direct. I highly doubt it though. I've been burned out too many times, as I said. Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. That's another game I'm really excited for this year. Super Mario Galaxy is one of my favorite. It is my favorite game of all time. And while we may not get Mario Galaxy 3, fingers crossed we will, this is as close as we could get. This is a modern Mario game, technically a Mario game, where he's in space. We're going back to space. We've got Rosalina the Lumas. We've got this new threat in the form of Cursa. So we're going back to space in this different gameplay style. And normally these tactical strategy games wouldn't be for me, but what I saw in the announcement trailer for Sparks of Hope, it looks fun. And the story looks really interesting, and just the intergalactic setting has me so excited because this might be the closest we ever get to Mario Galaxy 3, and it's primarily that space theme that has me so giddy about this. But will we see it in this direct? We don't know when it's coming out. Presumably the second half of the year. I think Kingdom Battle came out in like October. And given that we've seen like nothing of Sparks of Hope since the announcement trailer, it's probably a second half of the year game. They might touch on it, sure, but if they do show it, I suspect it will just be the footage we've already seen in like a scissor reel. I don't think we'll see much new footage. Again, that's probably an E3 game. But I could be wrong. I'd love to see it. Obviously, that would make me really happy, especially if the game has had any improvements since the last time we saw it, which I'm sure it has. And after that, you get into the more speculative territory. Breath of the Wild 2, not a chance. There's some people who seem to think it will show up in this direct, and those people, I think, they've lost their mind from the excitement. Because there's no way, there's no possible snowball's chance in hell Breath of the Wild 2 will be at this direct. I could be wrong, and I might eat those words, fair enough, but that's an E3 announcement. That's a really big thing. And if it's in this direct, it will automatically overshadow everything. People won't care about watching the trailers for Advance Wars or Bayonetta or Kirby. If Breath of the Wild is there and it gets a big blowout trailer and oh my god, it's the coolest thing ever, no one's going to care about the other games. Breath of the Wild will get its focus at the end of E3. And I think that's when they'll reveal the title. I just can't see them showing it just yet. They didn't show it in the last direct because it was too soon. They didn't show it at the Game Awards. I think they'll wait till E3. They'll wait until those last 6 months to hype it up. I could be wrong, as I said. Maybe they just announced the title, but I highly doubt it. I'm pretty confident Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 will not be at this Nintendo Direct. Donkey Kong, the rumored Donkey Kong game. There's a 50-50 chance. I don't really have an opinion either way on that one. It'll be interesting. The Tropical Freeze and Donkey Kong Country Returns games looked really fun. I personally haven't played them, but they look genuinely good and they have such high praise. So I'm sure a new Donkey Kong game would be just as high in quality as the previous two were. But in regards to if it shows up or not, it's a 50-50 chance. What about the heavily rumored games? Fire Emblem or Xenoblade Chronicles 3. There is a likelihood for these games. Only one of them will show up, I think. I don't think both of them will show up, but one of them will. I don't know which. Truth be told with you, there is so much talk about Monolith Soft. You know, their website is updating at the end of the month. There's leaks. There's the fact that they've been working on this for like 5 years. So there's a high chance for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or a port of X or a new IP. Something that Monolith is working on. Everything to do with Fire Emblem is literally speculation and rumors and hearsay. There's no like factual evidence to support that, but it is probable based on when Three Houses came out. So I'd say 50-50 for Fire Emblem, and I'd say Monolith Soft, there's a pretty good chance they'll be there. What about Mario Kart 9? Oh boy. This one, you know, last February's Direct, there was a lot of rumors leading up to it and speculation about Splatoon 3. Would it exist? Is it coming out on the Nintendo Switch? I vehemently denied it. I was saying on the lead up to that Direct, there's no way this game would show up. They're not going to release 2 Splatoon games on Switch. Not 2 in one generation. Splatoon 3 would not come out until the launch of the next gen system. And I was wrong. Splatoon 3 was the big announcement of that Direct. And I was 100% confident it wouldn't be there. It's the same situation with Mario Kart 9. I think there's no possible way Mario Kart 9 is coming out this generation. Which means there's probably a chance it will be at the Direct. Since Splatoon 3 happened, the argument of only one Splatoon or only one Mario Kart per generation doesn't hold up. So it is possible. Granted, they weren't supporting Splatoon 2 anymore and Mario Kart is still selling, so the situation is kind of different. But again, I suppose it is possible we could get another Mario Kart game on Switch. Personally, it's not that I don't want it, it's just I would only be interested if it's drastically different. If it does something crazy cool and exciting and brand new, brings back the single player features from Mario Kart DS, I'd pick it up. If it's just more Mario Kart 8, I'm not going to pick it up. It would just be a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. So they'd have to do something really stand out to make that game's existence justifiable and worthwhile to me. But I do not think it's coming. If it shows up, if it's the last announcement in the Direct, which it could possibly be, and probably is, I will certainly be shocked, but I don't expect that to be the case. And lastly, now that I think we've covered every other base, what about Metroid? We're in a very interesting situation, because for the first time ever with a Nintendo Direct, Metroid is in a favorable position. We just got Metroid Dread a few months ago. We could get DLC. This is the last chance, I think, for them to announce DLC, because I do think Metroid Prime Trilogy is coming out this year, probably in August. I expect an announcement for that at E3. It could happen tomorrow, but I expect it at E3. And if that is happening, I don't think they'll make DLC for Metroid Dread. It will be too close together, and between that and Prime 4 the year after, I feel like that might just be too much Metroid for a lot of people. That might cause fatigue pretty quickly in the Nintendo Switch fan base, because that would be an overload of Metroid content. So, no, if Prime Trilogy is not happening, maybe Metroid Dread DLC happens. But this is the last chance for Dread DLC. I don't think DLC is likely at this rate. There's definitely a load of content they could add back, because so much was cut from the game, as we just found out recently after the game came out. But it's not the type of game to receive DLC, and how DLC would fit into the world of the game is tricky at best to imagine. So I can't imagine DLC happening. I would love it if they did. I'd love if they added in new story content and a new area to explore, but I don't think it's a problem. That is a shame. I'd love new Metroid Dread content, but I don't think it's likely. It could happen, but probably not. Metroid Prime Trilogy, again, E3. I don't think there's a chance we'll be in this Direct. It could be the very last announcement, but I think it's too soon after Metroid Dread. Yes, they may want to ride on that wave of hype following Dread, but I think they'll wait till E3 to be the big reveal. Now, there is the caveat that if it's at E3, it'll just get drowned out by Breath of the Wild 2 and Sparks of Hope and everything else. Because unlike last E3, where Metroid and Advance Wars were the big thing, there's so much games this year, plus the ones we don't know about, that I feel like a port of some Wii games would get kind of swallowed out and drowned out in the noise. So in that regard, it is possible that they just announced Metroid Prime Trilogy here as the big thing. And as I've said before, Metroid Prime 4, that depends entirely on Trilogy. Because I'm certain Trilogy or a Prime 1 remake or whatever exists. Metroid Prime 4's appearance and seeing footage of that game depends entirely on seeing Trilogy. Because I don't think they'll show Prime 4 on its own. They will announce the Trilogy, and then they'll show you Prime 4, so that here's a new game to get excited for. Here's why you should buy the old ones. They'll do it as a pair, just like they did with Bayonetta. I could be completely wrong, and everything I've been saying over the last few years could be null and void, but I feel it in my heart that that is what they will do with Metroid. And if they're not doing the Metroid Prime Trilogy, maybe they just announce Prime 4 on its own. I don't know, but I think those come as a pair. The Metroid Prime games, they're all linked, and I think Nintendo will tie that announcement together. But either way, I don't think it's a 50-50 chance. I think there's a lower chance, but I suppose it is possible. Don't expect it. I'm certainly not expecting it. I'd love to be wrong, but don't expect it. Don't get your hopes up. It's probably an E3 announcement. Comes out in August, most likely. Makes sense to me. And yeah, those are my predictions for the Nintendo Direct. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think of everything I've just said here? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm wrong? What is your own likelihood and judgment for the games we could see? I want to hear everything you have to say down in the comment section below. And yeah, with that all said, thank you all for watching and please subscribe. Novus Corvius out.